morning, my friends. I got to thinking this video is going to be a day in the life of an 80-plus-year-old woman. And in a way, it's going to be a parody because as I think about my daily routine, it's fairly bizarre. And I hope you're going to get a few belly laughs out of it too because of some of the things I do, how I do it, and how I go about attacking all the little extras that come up. Well, I have to say that my day on many days might start off at 3 in the morning or 5 or 7. And at 3 in the morning, when I'm lying in bed and not sleeping, that's when a lot of my ideas come to me of YouTube ideas or some idea about something that I want to do here around the cottage, maybe a new project, or I think about our children and the grandchildren and all of those things. And I've also discovered that when you break it down, my day breaks down into about 5 things in 5 categories. And I'm going to start with the category of when I wake up in the morning and what I have to do to keep those in my life alive, including myself. Now that would start off with me because I'm awake. So right away, I'll go into the bathroom and quickly maybe throw some water on my face to wake up. And many's the time this might be 6 o'clock or maybe 7. Then comes the Nivea and take some pills and I'm ready to go. So the first thing I do when I open the door, I see my little friend Shamu. And a few feet behind Shamu is our stray that we've adopted called Ghost. Now that's a funny way of feeding because it turns out that involved in the cat food are a few residents that we have that are going to be in another category of 5 living things that I'm always fighting to stay out of my daily life, and that is raccoons. Raccoons will get into cat food anywhere I put it. I now have this strange place where I have to keep the big 20-pound bag of cat food. Now this is probably one of the most bizarre moments of my daily activities, feeding the cats. You see, I'm in my car now in the back seat, and I have to keep this 20-pound bag of the dry cat food in the car because of the raccoons. And otherwise, this bag would be dragged all over the patio, opened up, and half of it eaten. So what I have to do is I fill up the can with the cat food from the bag and close it up. And then I have to feed into the little bowls from this biscuit barrel, which is tin. If I keep this out on the table in the patio, the raccoons will come and take this top off, and this will be spilled all over the place. So now I have to bring this in the house as well, which if I forget and leave it outside on the patio, the raccoons will get into it. They know how to open jars. I used to keep the bag in a big tub in the patio. They learned how to somehow get the top off or drag the tub 20 feet away. The final straw that broke the camel's back, as they say, I think that's what they say, is that this small, very, very tight-lidded tub is where I used to keep the 20-pound bag, and you can only open it by releasing the side and the other side. It's hard to get this top off. You can see the bites in the corners and all the teeth marks. So we're feeding the cats and fighting off the raccoons at the same time. So after I take care of the cat, the birds start chirping and they're saying, "Hey lady, don't forget about us." I have 2 feeders ready to go.
Yeah.
and I'm going to put them up. And I filled the bottom with the black oil sunflower because, you know, a lot of them love that.
That will attract them, yeah.
Yeah. And my jumpsuit today, my garden flower suit, is from last summer. You might have seen it. It's culottes, and it has a little elastic back, and it's very summery. So off I go. We have to live for the day. So I go out and I check the birds, and half the time what I filled up 2 days before or a day before is empty. So I have to start filling the bird feeders, and they're happy for the day. And by the way, so is Moosey, because he loves to sit out there and watch the birds. So, see all this morning glory stuff up here?
Yeah.
This has got to come down.
Sure does.
I have my clipper. I don't know whether I can get to some of it this morning. Dedicated a day for that. Look how good that basil is doing there. I'm leaving this here to remind me. Well, by this time, it's time. Oh, by the way, I have my 1 cup of coffee a day with my True Whip on top, and I thoroughly enjoy that. And I have St. Francis right here, sitting here next to me. And St. Francis usually sits in the bird bath, or I take the bird down and put him there. Moosey gave this to me for Christmas, I think a year ago. But it has been knocked down so many times by raccoons or various other animals that go into the garden, and I have repaired and glued him back together 2 or 3 times. I'm gonna give it another try and get him out. This is going back in the bird bath. And this is heavy, but I love the look of him there. By the way, I need to put more water in here for the birds. I think today is bath day. Do you know Mikey gave us this bird bath about 25 years ago when we were living in Las Vegas.
Yep. Right outside our bedroom window.
Yep. By this time, my Moosey is stirring, and it's time for Moosey to get up. And the first thing he does these days is head straight out the door into the garden, and that's where he has his breakfast. So in I go to the kitchen. Do you like your cereal this morning?
Well, this is that cinnamon.
Yeah, it's that wheat Chex that you like with the cinnamon.
Yeah.
And you got some nice fresh bananas there.
You know what you could do?
What?
You could bring out the box so I'd have something to do while I'm eating it.
Like what?
We always read the back of the box when we were eating our cereal.
You did, come to think of it.
There was nothing else to do.
Well, we were always looking for that extra toy or something that was in the box, or whether we could send away for it, remember? Well, you have 3 new cereals, so enjoy. I'll bring out your Activia, have your coffee, and your sunscreen ready to go for the day. It's a beautiful day in the garden. Now it's time to keep my plants, my flowers, and my herbs alive. Everybody needs a little water.
Yeah.
Want some?
No, thank you, Mother.
So we can feed the tomato plants, we can feed the bougainvillea, which we've done, and some new flowers, and we have rose food too. It looks like I'm doing a great job of keeping everybody in the garden alive too. So I've kept alive birds, plants, flowers, Moosey, myself, and cats. Well, I keep Moosey and I in the same category. So that's 5 by 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. I've managed to keep living. Now let me talk to you now about the 5 things that I try and keep out of my life. And that starts with those raccoons. So now we're fighting off the bugs from the garden, and you have all kinds of pesticides, or we try not to do any pesticides on the herbs or anything we eat, but definitely some of the flowers. I also have some killer vines that I fight off almost every day. The morning glory vines that Moose planted about 10 years ago, the wrong kind, that have spread into the neighborhood, and they attack all the plants and want to curl around them. So I'm always clipping those off. Now, there are buggies that want to come into my house, and guess who they love? They don't bite Moose, they bite me, and that is mosquitoes and flies. My new spring wreath. This is my lavender. Not fresh, but it's cute, and it's for spring. And you might say, what is that thing hanging on the front door? Well, I'll tell you. It's an invention that we rigged up. We attach a bungee cord, or actually two of them together here, to the door knocker. And it's just long enough to perform a service. When Moosey comes out in the morning to the garden, he comes out in his rollator, and we do have a ramp built in front here so Moosey can go up and down it, or the wheelchair's easier to push up and down when we use that. But Moose could never close the door. It would always be open like this, and he would go down the ramp, and the flies and the mosquitoes would get in if I didn't see him when he went out. And only until I would come either out of the bedroom or wherever I was to close the door would the door be closed. So we decided this was a way that Moosey could do it, and it works great. He does pull the bungee cord. It stretches just enough to go out, see, and have him pull this cord, and voila, door is closed. So we've got 5 guys. We've got the raccoons, we've got the flies, the mosquitoes. We fight off ants in the garden, or squirrels, but we don't have too many squirrels anymore. Sometimes deer and sometimes coyotes. We do hear coyotes and raccoons on our roof at night. We have those clay tiles, and when they're walking across or running across the roof, there's a hillside that they come down in the back of the cottage, and they hop on the roof and wake us up at night. So living up in the hills has its advantages, but also its disadvantages. So now we've got Nanny taking care of those we love, and Nanny trying to get rid of those we don't love. Okay, then there's the usual things. After that, I'll come in. I still have some energy left. So now it's trash time, and I'll go around the little cottage, empty all the trash, and get that out to the big trash bin. There's always dishes. We don't have a dishwasher, so sometimes I'll do the dishes. If there's some and I've made a big meal the night before, guess what? Those dishes are still there in the morning. I can go to bed and sleep fine. A lot of people can't, but that's not one of my big worries. I do have a Dyson, which, by the way, Mikey gave us a couple of years ago, and it has saved my life so far as that goes. It's one of those Dysons that it's so easy to pull and lift, and it runs on batteries, so I'm not lugging around the old Electrolux, as you know, with the old cord and the machine. I used one of those for 50 or 60 years, I think, and that's gone. So I run that around. Now by this time, Nanny is ready to hit the sack. Not to sleep, just to put her piggies up and lie down. I truly believe in taking a break when your body begins to feel it. So I have no regular regime of exercise other than my lifting of the shopping bags that I bring in and out. I do lift the tubs, and I have a lot of tubs outside. We don't have room in here to store things. So lifting bags of fertilizer and dirt and cat food and everything, that's pretty much my weightlifting. And I do get to walk a lot around shopping, and I do some walking up and down here. And I love stretching. I can still put my hands on the floor and do a lot of things. I'm still quite flexible. But I do need my timeouts, and I do take a couple hours during the day. So by mid-afternoon, it's coming down. Now I do have the option, once I take care of these 5 areas here, taking care of us, keeping us alive, the birds, the cats, everybody else, keeping the bad guys away, I do have the option of attacking one of 5 banes of my existence, my disorganized areas that I wonder if I'll ever get them. And those are my closet, the patio, which we think we might be maybe building a new one. Matt and one of our grandsons might be putting up a new patio for us. But I do have stuff all around the patio and everything that falls from the trees in the spring, like right now. So that's another area. Another area is my jewelry area. Instead of plastic bags and hiding the jewelry, I would love to have an area where I could display everything, either hanging or somewhere. That's another area that I would love to work on. What is the other one? The shed, the patio, the jewelry, the closet, and there's one more, Moose. What is it?
Any flat surface.
Any flat surface, as Moose says. As you all know, I am a maximalist, and I love things, my candlesticks, my clocks, my everything. But that's me, and that won't change. There is one other thing, if I could figure out what it is. Oh, it's the car. My car is kind of a storeroom at times. When it rains, I go outside and it takes me maybe half an hour to pull all the cushions from all the chairs, the patio. Right now there's a huge hole in my canvas patio cover, and so the rain and everything will come down on everything. So I take all the cushions and anything that might get wet, and I have no place to put them, so I use the trunk of my car to put that. Where I also keep, and I think by now you've seen the B-roll, where I also have to keep the 20-pound bag of cat food so the raccoons don't get it. So my car is not one of those wonderful, I love my car, it's 10 or 12 years old, my van, and I wouldn't give it up for anything, except for maybe the gas right now. So I do have the choice of attacking, if I still have some energy, one of those 5 areas to start to get some organization going. I have attempted each one of those, but I do need help in several of the areas. But at the same time, as you know, you have to be there to say what goes, what doesn't. I do have to purge a lot in those areas, except the jewelry. I just have to reorganize that so I can see it and love it and choose what I want that I can see. By this time, Moosey and I only basically have 2 meals a day. I might have maybe 1. I do in the morning I haven't eaten yet, and it's probably close to noon. In fact, it is noon. I usually have my avocado in the morning or some bizarre something. And I have been known to eat the leftovers from the night before, which is not good, but that's okay. So we don't have lunch. Moose has a nice full breakfast and we can last. So I do a bit of some intermittent fasting, I guess you might say, in the morning, other than my coffee. And by this time, it's time to think about something for supper. And we usually eat at 4 or maybe 5 at the very latest. And if I'm in the mood to make something really delightful, I like to make some shrimp dishes. We had salmon the other night and with a beautiful big salad, and we agreed it was one of the best meals we've had. That doesn't take a lot of energy. Sometimes I'm in the mood to do a really great dinner, sometimes I'm not. Oh, the freezer. I just thought of that. That is another one of the 5 things that's disorganized and needs to be redone. I'm sure I have much too much stuff that's too old in there, and I do have to sit down. No, you can't sit down while you do that. I have to pull everything out of the freezer and get rid of what has freezer burn or what's too old and start again. So now it's supper time, and I will prepare supper. I was just going to say, that reminded me about my freezer, that I will pull something out of the freezer, and I usually keep things in there on those nights that I'm just too pooped to cook a big meal. And I keep something that I can heat up, whether it's chicken pot pies or some nice dishes like an eggplant parmesan or something that, or maybe we'll have scrambled eggs for supper. That's always a good supper. And the next morning, by the way, you're always down a pound or two. So, and by 6:30, 7 o'clock, if Moosey doesn't have a ball game on in Moosey's world here, he will come in to the bedroom and we both get settled for bed, and we will watch our Netflix or Showtime or HBO Max. We're kind of into some binging right now. We like to watch movies, and I will usually fall asleep in the middle of something, which annoys Moose, or then I'll wake up and want to watch more. And I cannot really go to sleep until probably midnight. Moose can fall asleep easier and does sleep better. I'm going to start taking some of his melatonin, I think. I think I'm at the point where I'm ready to try that. I'm not a good sleeper. So that's basically a day in the life of Nanny. Maybe it's a lot like your days, but remember, Nanny is almost 85, and it's a full day for me. Some days I'm much more active. Some days I can purge Moosey's clothes. Can't do too much about my purging yet, but I can clean out his closet, and we sit down and go through everything, shoes and everything, and I have plenty of energy for that. Other days I don't. So I hope that you have some productive days. I wouldn't call every one of my days productive. A lot of it is routine, and that morning part up until noontime is pretty much routine. And then the rest of the day, well, the time out on the bed is, I forgot to add in the days that I tape my YouTube videos. 2 days a week I do filming, and then usually every day I do some what we call B-roll, which is out and about. And at the same time, hopefully that same day I can spend editing. Editing usually takes several hours because sometimes I talk too much and I have to cut out, get rid of my ums and various other things. On another day, I will spend several hours on maybe 1 or 2 days answering your comments. Sometimes I will be doing that early in the morning if I'm not sleeping before I get up. So those are the extras. And the other things are keeping up with our children. And every morning I check my calendar, and I have all the birthdays of all the family members. We have about 53 or 54 of them up there. And on that day of a birthday, Moosey and I will always sing and harmonize the happy birthday song to that person that day. So that is an important part of my day. Keeping up with the family. We talk on the phone with kids, or sometimes they'll pop in. Tonight, Matthew and Cindy are coming up to watch 2 basketball games. Moosey's college, St. Peter's College, has been defeating all the big guys, and they're playing again tonight in the March Madness. Moose, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And so they're coming up to watch the games. We're going to have pork sliders, and I'm making some coleslaw. And we saw Mikey last weekend, a Wednesday night. Was that last night or the night before? We went over to see a Seussical musical that 3 of our great-grandkids were in, great-granddaughters. And that was wonderful. So in between all this, we do manage to try and keep up with all the things that we love to do and things that I think are so important to still try and do at this age. But anyway, I'm going down the rabbit hole right now, so that's my day. A day in the life of an 82-year-old woman who still loves projects. I love painting, I love crafting, and every once in a while I forget about everything else and I can refinish a piece of furniture. or I can paint. I love to paint, or I can do something really creative. So that's it, ladies. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your comments, as I keep saying every time, and it's worth saying to you because I appreciate it so much. Thank you for your comments and all the lovely things that you say. I am so grateful. Thank you all for being here. Welcome to all the newcomers, and for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, please think about it. I would love that. So goodbye for now. See you soon. God bless us all.